In this episode, we're going to talk about the hidden resentment slowly poisoning your marriage and how to clear them up. Are you tired of your marriage not growing? You're not alone. Welcome to Why Your Marriage Isn't Growing, a podcast helping couples reignite their relationship, break free from the trap of just getting along, and rediscover the joy and passion they once had. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Why Your Marriage Isn't Growing. This is Greg.
And this is Carolyn.
You know why I like this episode? Is because a lot of people don't understand you can slowly kill your marriage by not paying attention.
And paying attention hurts. Okay, so let me talk about some benefits that you'll gain.
Wonderful. What are some of the benefits that the audience can gain from listening to us in this particular episode?
Well, how to identify the subtle resentments that are eroding your love without you realizing it. Why ignoring small hurts leads to big relationship disasters, and a proven process for clearing resentments that actually strengthen your marriage.
And the reason why we're sharing all this with you is because the stakes and the opportunities are very high in here. Resentment is like a carbon monoxide in marriage. And if you know anything about carbon monoxide, it's a silent, invisible killer. It's deadly. Many married couples don't realize that small, unaddressed hurts are slowly poisoning their connection until it's almost too late. What if there's a way to clear the air and restore the love you once felt?
That sounds good.
Is the process.
Yeah.
And when you fall in love with the process, you create harmony and peace and love inside instead of hate and resentment.
Okay, so let's talk about how to identify the subtle resentments that are eroding your love without you recognizing it.
Well, here's what I know. Some of the most common sources of hidden resentment that I've found in marriages: unacknowledged sacrifices, unmet expectations that were never communicated. You expected them to do this, you expected them to do that. And you repeat these small things over and over and over that accumulates over time, making the person feel appreciated or taking them for granted, and past conflicts that will resolve but never truly heal. See, you're not letting anything heal.
Right.
And that's what the problem is right now. You create this stuff, and just like we're saying, carbon monoxide, if you know anything about it, is a slow killer. You don't see it, it's silent and it's deadly. Next thing you know, you're dead. Well, if you cut off the communication with your spouse, that's what you're creating, a slow death.
Well, Paul warns us in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 26 and 27, do not let the sun go down while you are still angry, and do not give the devil a foothold. Hidden resentments give the enemy exactly the foothold he needs to destroy marriages.
And that's his whole objective.
That's his whole objective.
The Bible tells us in John 10 that the thief's job is to kill you, destroy you by any means necessary. But God said, I've come that you may have life and have it more abundantly. That can apply to your marriage. So basically what we do when we come out here each and every week is we want to give you a blueprint so you can start the process. Right now, we get ready to share with you something that if you complete this resentment inventory, you will uncover what's being building beneath the surface.
Yeah.
And I know that you can't take notes, but you can listen intensely. So you'll hear what Carolyn and I are sharing with you, because a lot of these things we're sharing in our marriage.
Okay. So list moments when you felt unappreciated or taken for granted.
And you definitely want to identify sacrifices you made that your spouse never acknowledged.
That one's a good one.
That's powerful right
Yeah. You want to note expectations you had that were never communicated or met.
And always, most important, recall the times when you said, it's fine, but it really wasn't.
Did I ever do that?
A lot of times you do.
No, I did.
Yeah, because you were just going along to get along, because you was like, you know what, I'm fed up with this mess. You're going to keep on doing this. It doesn't seem like nothing is changing. You were just going along to get along.
Okay, so one of the things you want to do is recognize patterns where you do things for your spouse, but feel it's not appreciated.
Why do we need to recognize those patterns?
Because those things are part of what's building up under the surface that's hurting your spouse.
And basically, when you pay attention to your internal reactions, such as eye rolling, sighing, sucking at the teeth, or feeling annoyed when your spouse speaks. In other words, you anticipating. I equate it to this. It's like you're anticipating what they're going to say because it irritates you when they say certain things, and you're just not sharing that. Mm-hmm. And these are things that you need to recognize. Mm-hmm. And when they go unnoticed and untalked about, then it creates the foolishness that we were talking about earlier, that silent killer, carbon monoxide.
And it's also like dirt and dust being swept under the rug. In the beginning, when you sweep it under that rug, you don't notice it until weeks down the road.
That's why when you ignore these small hurts, it leads to big relationship disaster. Mm-hmm. How do we know this? Because we have lived it. This is the reason why we share with you week in and week out, because we understand that if you ignore these small hurts, it's going to lead to big relationship disaster. I promise you that.
So the progression of how minor, unaddressed hurts compound into major, I'm going to say that again, major relationship damage, emotional withdrawal, defensive communication, assumption of negative intent, erosion of trust and goodwill, and eventual emotional disconnection.
And the key part we want to share with you here, you might want to go back and listen to this again, is the emotional disconnection. Mm-hmm. And Solomon was real clear on this in chapter 2, verse 15. He warns about the little foxes ruin the vineyards. Small resentments are the little foxes that destroy the beautiful vineyard of marriage if left in check. That's the part about emotional disconnection. You're allowing the small things which keep adding up to eventually, like Carolyn was saying, it's like sweeping the stuff under the rug. And when you keep doing that, it's going to become big. And then all of a sudden now you got a big problem when you could have dealt with it when it was a small little problem.
Yeah. So you want to understand the resentment progression to intervene early.
And you know why that's so important? Because when you recognize the small hurt stage, feeling disappointed, but telling yourself it's not worth it, it's not worth bringing it up.
That's right.
No, it's worth bringing it up.
It's worth bringing up.
Because you notice the storage stage, keeping mental lists of grievances without addressing them. See, now you're keeping this mental note of all this stuff. When basically, if you identified the problem recognition stage, starting to see your spouse's behavior as intentionally hurtful. So you got to look at these things like that.
Yeah. And you also want to observe the withdrawal stage, pulling back emotionally as a form of protection. And I think we do that a lot of times. And in the beginning, you may not know you're doing it, but once you start doing it all the time, it grows.
Listen, I agree with you 100% because these are the things that you and I have already gone through. And when you observe this withdrawal stage, that's pulling back emotionally as protection. Now you're going into this little
trying to protect yourself.
You're trying to protect yourself. You're watching what you say. Should I say this or should I not say this? Or when do I speak? Now you're walking around like a personal eggshell. And some of you listen to us are probably experiencing that right now. You just don't know how to get out of that trap.
And you want to catch the interpretation stage, assuming negative motives behind neutral actions.
And if you don't understand what that interpretation stage is, that means you're not paying attention. You should be paying attention. And you want to discuss this stuff with just be open and honest. This might be to help you on your progression so you can learn how to stop.
Yeah. Definitely want to do that.
Because here's what I know. There's a proven process for clearing resentment that actually strengthens you just may not know it, but it's here. And I know it is because you got to learn how to utilize this method that Carolyn and I want to share with you. And it's crucial that you get this thing called the release method. It's a biblical approach to addressing and clearing resentment that brings healing rather than more hurt in your relationship. And I always tell people this, the first form of healing is to be true to yourself. So you got to establish this. And this is the reason why we always speak about the Bible. because the Bible is truly a blueprint that can heal and help you in any aspect of your life. But in this particular state, we're talking about marriage.
Right. Matthew 18:15 tells us, if your brother or sister sins, go and point out their fault just between the two of you. This approach can restore relationships when applied with wisdom and love. And I said that, wisdom and love.
And wisdom is the principal thing. You understand how to release through this process. Release through it and identify the resentment. Because when you identify the resentment, you will recognize and acknowledge the specific hurt without minimizing or aggravating the situation.
Yeah, and also you'll examine. Consider your own contribution to the situation or to the misunderstanding.
We're saying all these things because if you don't learn how to release your demands for a specific response from your spouse and learn to let go of the outcome, let go, let God. You've heard this. A lot of these things are simple, but they're very profound, but we just want to keep majoring and minoring.
Yeah, and then you want to ask for understanding. I mean, literally say, help me understand your perspective on this situation.
Makes sense to me.
Because a lot of times, a lot of assuming is going on.
It is. If you haven't getting anything out of this podcast, just understand how you need to work together on how to handle these situations, because every situation is going to be different, but it's great for your future. Understand, you married this person for a reason. Let's figure out how we can address this situation, attack it, establish new patterns to create agreements that prevent the same resentment from rebuilding. You don't want to keep going around the mulberry bush, keep going around the mulberry bush, keep going around the mulberry bush, just keep going. It's like you know that the stove is hot, but you put your hand on it anyway, thinking, well, maybe keep poking yourself with the needle. Why would you keep poking yourself? Why would you keep beating yourself up? Why would you keep saying words that hurt? You're supposed to be using words that build people up. So, Carolyn, here's what I want you to do, because you do this so eloquently. Just share with the audience some of your final thoughts of what we've actually been discussing here on helping people to understand how important it is understanding these hidden resentments that can slowly poison your marriage.
Well, resentment is unforgiveness in work clothes.
Okay.
In other words, it looks productive because you're protecting yourself, but is actually destroying what you're trying to protect. The resentments you're carrying aren't just hurting your spouse. They're poisoning your own heart and robbing you of the joy God intended for your marriage.
Say that.
So clearing resentments isn't about becoming a doormat. It's about becoming free. When you courageously address the hurts you've been carrying, you're not just cleaning house. You're making room for love to grow again.
See what I'm saying? Just because you make room, you're remembering where you were before. So I know we've given you a lot in this episode, but this was one that was near and dear to our heart because we know that there's a lot of hidden resentments that slowly poison a marriage. And guess what? We had those hidden resentments. This is the reason why we're so adamant about sharing this, because this is our life. What we're doing each and every time we come out on these episodes on this podcast, and why we create this, is because we're learning to share this with you, because we're living our life out loud. So we're going to recap with you the things that we actually went over, because you may have missed some of the things. But we learned to identify the subtle resentments that erode love without us realizing it. That was a key component.
That was. And we explored why ignoring small hurts leads to devastating relationship damage.
True that. We discovered the release method. Remember, you got to release it for clear resentment in a way that strengthens your marriage, because you want to strengthen your marriage, you want to grow.
And we talked about the hidden resentments that are like relationship carbon monoxide, silent but deadly.
See, because that carbon monoxide is truly, there's cases where people have died of carbon monoxide poisoning and didn't even know they were dead. And that's how your marriage is. It's dying, and you don't even recognize that it's dying until you're at the point where it's on life support, and you don't even know it's on life support.
Okay.
because you didn't want to address the resentment courageously so you could create space for love and trust to be restored.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to recognize it. First, you got to identify and say, hey, we got a problem.
Yeah.
So then what do we do?
What
And
do
how
we
to or assess this situation? That's
to
what
get it
Carolyn
on?
and that's what Carolyn and I did. That's the reason why we did this, because we know that people are hurting. We know they're slowly dying and poisoning their marriage. So we just wanted to share with you, and hopefully and prayerfully this helped you. So again, we want to thank you for joining us today. We do new episode releases every Monday and Thursday. So be sure to follow us wherever you're listening to podcasts. And most importantly, if this message helps you recognize hidden resentments in your marriage, please share it with someone whose relationship could benefit from this. God be the glory.